This is Creepy and Geeky, a part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and today's episode is part 2 in my Saw series. This episode, we're talking about Saw 3 and 4. Joining me today is Kristy Adams, the co-owner of Nightmare Toys and Nightmare Cafe. Welcome to the show, Kristy.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
We had you on previously for the Scream series that I did. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So
I know you're
the Saw franchise is my favorite. So
yeah, I knew you were a big fan, so I was like, okay, we got to get you on for at least one of these.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. It was fun to watch this.
Yeah. No, I had a good time. I've watched the first one a few times, and I've watched the up to 7 about once each. Maybe number 2 I've watched a couple more times than that, and I've watched Spiral once, so I haven't seen Jigsaw. That's the only one I haven't seen of the original.
Series. Okay.
And then and then of course Saw X, which is coming out soon. By the time this airs, it'll already have come out. So
yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I had posted this on my Instagram that I was watching last night. That I was watching Saw 4. And yeah, I got a lot of people excited wanting to binge watch the Saw series to get ready for the new one. So, like, exactly.
You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to get ready.
I only did 3 and 4, so I think, well, now I just got to continue it. I know what 1 and 2 is. Okay, I've seen them a lot. It's just funny. A fun series to binge watch, though, because they all go together.
Yeah, no, I would say that's part of the appeal of it too. Is the first time I watched through up to 7, when I watched up to 7 the first time, it was a lot of fun in the way that while they do, obviously they were kind of flying by the seat of their pants making these every year, that they did seem to have some kind of rough outline of what they were going to do, and so they kept it very interconnected. And has one of the most consistent continuities of most horror franchises.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's very creative. I love everything that they've done. I just find it to be a very creative franchise. If anything, I know there's people out there that hate it and want to shit on it and all that. But come on, though, you have to admit, I mean, all the traps and all the everything, and then them intertwining each story, and you think you already got all the story of this one
right
person. No, you don't, because 2 movies from now you're going to get some more. And,
right.
And you're going to still keep finding stuff out, and I just find that to be very creative among anything else. So
I agree. I agree. I think that makes it very fun in a lot of ways. Very much almost like you could have made this into a TV show, like a TV series, rather than like a movie series, because it's fairly tight in the continuities. If you would have left in the gore, obviously would have had to be something like an HBO series or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that, the way that it all weaves in and out would have been fascinating as like, what's going to happen next week on next week's episode. But that's how it is with watching these in general anyway, is like, oh, well, now I got to know what's happening. Like, especially once you get farther in, and then you're like, okay, well, what's this next movie going to tell me about the past of Jigsaw?
Right.
So
it's
always fascinating.
Somebody else is helping. Who is that? And then you find out somebody else, and then there might be somebody else. And then why do they all intertwine? I mean, it's really crazy. The only one that I wasn't too crazy about was Spiral. That kind of is a little bit from the rest of them, but yeah.
I've heard that I've heard from most of the people who really like the franchise that Spiral didn't work as well for them. And I thought, but see me, I thought Spiral worked pretty well. So, but again,
okay.
I'd only seen them like once, and it had been years ago when I did see Spiral. So,
Well, you
now
need to binge
going
watch
through all these,
all of them in a row.
yeah,
All of
that's what
the
I'm doing.
Jigsaw.
Yeah, I just have, because I've watched everything up to 6 now, and then I've got to watch 7, Jigsaw, Spiral, and the new one. So
There you
I'll
go.
be caught up again.
Unfranchise.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's we're talking 3 and 4 in this one. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about 1 and 2 a little bit, because they, things happen in these that kind of call back to those. But yeah, so Saw 3 so Saws 2, 3, and 4 were all directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. So there's a rough trilogy of sorts going on through this, with Detective Matthews,
right.
Eric Matthews, played by Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah.
Yes.
And which is funny too, because like I kind of feel like he enjoyed playing a cop so much in this movie, that in this little bit of the series here, that he ended up just going, okay, well, I'm gonna go do this over on Blue Bloods now for like the next 15
right?
plus years. So,
and he was in Sixth Sense too.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people don't know that either. So
yeah, he's the guy from the beginning.
Yeah, in the bathroom there.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's so this number 3 is the middle part of this trilogy. And in this one, Saw, Jigsaw, John Kramer, and Amanda kidnap this doctor that is being taken to help him with his brain cancer that he's got.
Right.
And because he's now almost completely debilitated, laying on a bed, and needing some kind of help. And so she's being forced to do this with a contraption around her neck that's got like a series of basically mini 1-bullet guns on it, and that if she doesn't do it, then they'll make it go off and just like obliterate her head.
Yeah, it's like shotgun shells all the way around.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then meanwhile, they've got another guy that they've trapped in a maze of sorts, named Jeff, and he's got to his whole thing is that the task that they've given him to do is he's got to forgive the people who killed his son, or kill them, or let them die anyway, not kill them, but let them die in their traps. And so he's got to make the choice for the witness that didn't say anything, the judge that let the guy go, and the guy himself, who it was an accident. Obviously, through the course of this, you realize it's just an accident. He didn't mean to kill the kid. But as a grieving parent, you would. What?
There was the girl too. Who was she?
Yeah, that was the witness.
That was the witness. Okay, she was the witness.
Yeah, she was the witness. So meanwhile, so he's got to make the choices. Does he forgive and let go of this grief, and move on, or does he let these people die to feel some kind of revenge and some kind of satisfaction for all of this? Because it would suck not having somebody come forward and and help put this guy away or whatever. But again, it was an accident. I feel for the guy. I do, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like you're just letting people die just to have some kind of, like, I don't think you're really gonna feel good at the end of it.
Right. Of course.
So,
yeah.
But I think it's interesting. I do like that there's these two storylines going on. They've got these two trapped people going on. But
that's her husband.
Well, we don't know that at first. We don't know that at first.
Well, not at
We don't
first,
find yeah, we don't find out until much later. That's the twist. That's one of the twists.
Yeah.
Is that yeah, the doctor is Jeff's wife. And that that's part of the whole trap as well, is that he's making his way there. And that's what I think is interesting about these movies, is there's always these traps, there's always these things, but he tries to tell them, if you don't like, and it happens multiple times, if you don't do anything, if you resist what you would normally do or what you would normally want to do, then you'll survive this, or you will, you'll come out of it better. Like, right. And so I find that interesting, that people's, and I don't know if in the same situations, if I would choose any differently. Like, that's the frustrating part, is like, if I was racked with grief about the death of my child, what would I do? Would I do the same things? Would I want to seek some kind of revenge on all that? Or would I just try to let it go and help these people and make sure they didn't die? So,
right. I don't know. That's
and that's what
situation.
And I think that's kind of what makes these movies interesting too, is that you do have this question as an audience member too, is what would you do? Like, I think that's what appeals to people on this. It's not about the torture. I don't think anybody really goes into these going, oh my God, yes, I want to see people die in horrific ways. Don't get me wrong, there's probably a few people who are like that, but and don't get me wrong, I love a good death scene more, like just as much as anybody else. But some of these are so torturous and so like, that you just, I think more than anything, that people kind of go into these going, okay, but what would my choice be? Like, and especially in this circumstance, specifically, what would you do? And I think the same thing applies to number 4 as well. Because number 4 is with the SWAT guy Riggs, and he is told to stay back and not save people, and it's his whole thing is that he wants to go save everybody, and he feels this need to save everybody instead of just stepping back, waiting and letting things happen.
Right.
And so it's, if he had just waited, nothing would have happened. All that bad stuff that happened in the course of that movie, nothing would have happened. So it's just, it's interesting to think about as an audience member, as the person watching this, and going, well, what would I do? Like, that's the fun thing for me is, in addition to watching these, that's the moral conundrum that you can look at and go, So
right, of course.
But what are your overall feelings about number 3?
I like number 3 because this is where you start getting more of the storyline of Amanda and how she is helping Jigsaw. And then this is also the start of the story of Hoffman.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. And then that story goes into 4. I like Hoffman. I remember when I watched it, I thought that was a big surprise.
Yeah.
That, because you kind of get that at the end of 3, and you're like, oh, okay, so now he's part of it too, So yeah, I like that, and I like all the traps were so creative in all of the movies. But this one has the lady that's freezing.
Yeah.
That is my worst nightmare. So that one would be my worst one in this movie, because that is my worst nightmare. I hate to be cold. And I'm always cold. Like, I'm cold all the time, and I hate it. I can't stand to be cold. So to watch that just makes my entire body just hurt. And I feel so bad. And yeah, I don't like that one.
Yeah. No, that one's a brutal one. Yeah, that one's just ouch. Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of the cold either, so I can totally understand that.
The other one that I do like is when the black guy that is he's getting his arms twisted and his legs twisted. Yeah. That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that one's brutal. That one's
really brutal. That's probably one of the brutal ones, I think, throughout A lot of the
the
franchise.
the judge one, he's just being drowned in pig, like
Guts.
like yeah,
Yeah.
pig guts. Yeah. That one's just gross. That one's not like that one. It's in itself isn't very brutal in my mind. Yes, you're gonna drown, which sucks, but it's like
Gross.
it it's just gross. Yeah, it's just really gross. But yeah,
I'm
the one with
imagining
the
the smell
so
of
what?
that. I'm imagining the smell of that when I
Oh
watch that.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's horrible.
no.
I've been around industrial like animal farms a couple of times.
Oh,
And this was like 20 years ago. But yeah, they smell really bad. And so I can imagine just how bad like just rotting pig carcasses were like, and then just having them smushed up like that. Just bleh. So,
had the same reaction.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think the traps are really good in this one. I think it's interesting to see more of like we said, more of Jigsaw and Amanda. This one's interesting because we just got done with number 2, and Amanda seems to be an important part of everything. But in this one, Jigsaw's testing her as well. And you can see her being put through the ringer in this one. She's just, she wants to be like number one and important, and then he keeps doing things to make her feel like she isn't, and he's like really purposely doing stuff like touching the doctor's hand and making it seem like he's wanting her more than Amanda. And so it's these little things that Amanda's like seeing and is getting frustrated by. And you find out actually a little bit more later on. I think it's in number 5 or 6. You get more of Hoffman's backstory and how he plays into things. And then so you see that there's more going on in the background of that stuff as well that involves him.
Right.
And so again, all of this is so crazy because the timelines, and they keep filling in more backstory as we go along in the series. So it's kind of hard like to kind of separate them, because I'm remembering things from
Right.
later on. I'm like, okay, I'm not talking about that just yet. But yeah, it's interesting, the little bits with Amanda and her just kind of um getting more and more
Yeah.
frustrated and jealous.
Yeah. Very jealous. And you
Yeah.
find out she gets real emotional in
Yeah.
this one. You kind of see how she kind of in a way is like in love in a way with Jigsaw. You kind of see she's just
I
so
think she
attached to
sees
him
him.
now.
Yeah, I think she
Like a
sees as him as like a father
father figure.
figure.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. Like love
Yeah.
like that. I didn't mean
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
meant like
No, I knew
that.
what
Like
you
she
meant.
loves him in
Yeah.
that way. And then you also see her other emotional problem. She doesn't have the drug problem anymore, but now she's cutting herself. So
Yeah.
that's happening
Yeah.
too. There's a lot happening in part 3. A lot of
Yeah.
people's little stories
Yeah.
going on, and a lot of things going on, and the little twists and stuff, and then they all end up coinciding anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. Like the way, and that's what's fun about these movies is like, it not only the traps and the twists and everything else, and it's just like, well, how is it all connected? Like what are the connections that we're not seeing quite yet? And then like what's that's what I think is interesting about it as we watch them, because they were obviously just trying to tell this, like each time they did it, they were like, okay, well, we're gonna hold some information back and we'll fill it in later,
Right. Yeah,
so
we'll put it in 2 movies from now.
right, right,
They tend to
two,
do
three,
that. But yeah, this one had I think a really good meaty story to it. It had a lot going on, a lot of
yeah,
little stories, like I said, and a lot of little twists. And he was testing a lot of people. He wasn't just testing one, he was testing a lot of people in this one. Pretty
yeah,
much everybody was being tested in this one. Um, yeah. And
yeah.
then you go to 4. And
Yeah,
who is being tested in that one?
yeah. Well, and then that one. So, but we gotta come back with 3 real quick, because in 3, Jeff manages to get through his stuff. He doesn't save the witness. He lets her freeze to death. He tries to at the very end. He's always kind of a little late on most of them. He manages to somehow save the judge before the judge drowns. But again, that one was a little bit easier. He just kind of unlocked him and he was able to come out. It was almost like he was definitely made to get him out of that one easier than the other two.
Yeah.
Because then you get to the third one, and then it's the guy who hit and killed his kid. And, he's at first really like not wanting to do anything. He's in pain. He's just like, he wants to take his, vengeance out on this guy and let him die. And like we said, the contraption in this, it starts twisting. First it twists one arm, then the next arm, then one leg, then the next leg, and then finally the head. And then, but meanwhile, he could get a key, but it would shoot a gun that could potentially kill him. And but he ends up grabbing the key, and it ends up shooting the judge in the head, right. Which I thought was crazy. Like, it's like just bad placement where the judge was, because if the judge had not been in that area, it would have been fine. Nobody would have died. But right. He ends up dying, and then he just doesn't save the kid in time. And he tries, but he just can't get it done before it twists his head all the way, because he hesitated. He waited too long. He let his emotions, and that was what was interesting too, because like for the judge, like each one of these, he needed to do something to he needed to sacrifice something. I can't remember what he needed to sacrifice in the first one. And the second one was a bunch of toys from his kid's toys. And he had to let them burn so that he could get the key to get the judge out.
Right.
So it was all this, and I felt like this one was actually kind of cruel on John Kramer's part, because like I don't understand why you can't let somebody grieve. And I guess maybe just because it did tear apart the rest of the family. I think that was his point. Never mind, I got it. Because he was neglecting his daughter, and his wife, and the wife was then cheating, and the daughter wasn't was falling aside and everything. And so I get that. Took me a second to remember. But yeah, so I mean, I get his point, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard. Like, I can't imagine losing a child and how that much would like break me.
Yeah.
And as much as I'd want to hold on to my wife and my other child and everything like that, and hopefully I would, but yeah, that would hurt a lot. And so it just, there was a little bit of cruelty there. Like, it's like, dude, like, I get your point. Sure, he needs to pay attention to his wife and kid, but it's
yeah,
dude had his kid die. So
I guess that's what is the emotional thing for us to be watching it.
Yeah. So, and I think that's another aspect that's interesting, is that like these, like, again, like there's certain aspects of these, not in all of these, but certain aspects of these that you do sit there and go, how would that be? Like, how would I be in that situation? And how would I resolve that?
Right.
But a lot of these are, like I said, a lot of these are really difficult traps and stuff like that. But the doctor, meanwhile, has to help Jigsaw, because he's getting like a bleed, or he's getting swelling in his brain that's causing it to press on his skull and making his motor functions impossible. That's why he's just laying on the bed, barely being able to do anything. And then so she ends up cutting into his head and actually like cutting a piece of his skull out so that his brain can like, I guess, have air enough to like swell out and just have the room there. And it helps. He's able to kind of move his hands again and everything and talk better. And but it's wild. It's that whole sequence with her and Amanda and everything, and Amanda just because that's where Amanda's at the whole time, is just in that room dealing with all that. And it's but Jeff gets through everything, and you realize that Jeff and the doctor were married or are married, and he gets there just in time to see Amanda shoot her,
Right.
because she just gets so jealous of the fact that Jigsaw's kind of riling her up and messing with her and saying, no, she's super important and everything, and she's more important than you realize. And and then Amanda just gets so jealous that she ends up shooting her, and right as Jeff is coming through, and she falls into his arms. Yep. And yeah, and then he just comes in and shoots Amanda like right in the neck, with the one bullet he had, which again Jigsaw sets up. Jigsaw sets all this up to it's crazy how, like, and he mentions it in a later thing. He's like, because he's like, Hoffman remarks about how like all this depends on coincidence more than anything else. And I think that's kind of what audiences are kind of like, yeah, that's a lot of this relies on coincidence. But and he goes, no, I know what people are going to decide to do. And it's not supernatural. It's just he knows just how people are going to react. And because people are, sure, some people are going to be different, they're going to make different choices, but given the situations and stuff like that, you're always going to make the situation that's going to benefit you the most. So
of course.
So I think that's it's interesting to get to that aspect of it. Jeff kills Amanda, and then Jigsaw, John Kramer's trying to tell Jeff, hey, you I think I can't remember how it is, but he's basically tell him, you shouldn't kill me. And then he just, because you can't kill me, because if you do, your daughter will die, because I'm the only one who knows where she is.
Right.
And so then he just, but he can't deal with everything, and then just slits John's throat with like a saw blade. And that's it. John and Amanda are dead at the end of this. It is crazy. And the door closes. Jeff's trapped inside now. So, and that's pretty much the end of it.
I love the surgery. I love that whole part. It's done so well. It looks so good. The special effects department on this did an amazing job. I mean, even the sound and everything looks amazing. So that's another really cool part of part 3. Is the, have her cutting the skull. I'm not sure what that surgery is called, but yeah.
Yeah.
She had to keep him alive, that whole time. Otherwise, she was gone.
Yeah.
But that's the whole irony of everything that happened at the end, like that. She kept him alive. Now everybody's just killing each other because everybody's just hasty and freaking out, and everybody's dead.
No, they it is just, again, it's because they make these bad choices all along the way that they just, by the end of these movies, pretty much everybody's going to be dead because everybody just makes dumbest choices.
Right.
But but that leads us to number 4. And in number 4, we get more of Hoffman being the new Jigsaw, because now he, before he was just Jigsaw's apprentice, but now he is Jigsaw. And so he's the one pulling all the strings. Kind of, he's kind of still doing everything that Jigsaw set in place, because John Kramer set a lot of things in motion before he died, and so there's a lot more going on. There's more traps for more people going on. But again, these movies are all kind of following along the same timeline, because this one is about Riggs, the SWAT guy from 2 and 3, and how he deals with Eric Matthews' disappearance and Detective Carey's death, because they find her hanging up after she had her chest ripped open. And then so he's dealing with all that and trying to go through these traps that Jigsaw set him up for to and this one's interesting too because it's not in a central location. He's actually letting Riggs move about the city. Like he's actually able to move about and do things. Sure, he's on a path to go do these things, but he has to actually he's got to let these other people die. That's the thing. It's like either let these people die or leave these people alone to do the things that they need to do, or you could end up dying, you know. So it's and they're all connected. Again, it's all these weird little connections because like the woman who was like a pimp, and then the man who was like a rapist, and then I don't even remember who else.
But they were all connected. Those people were all connected to John's wife. That's where you get introduced more to her in this one.
Right.
She kind of towards the end is a little suspect now, a bit. And you do find out more about Hoffman. And Hoffman, yes, is going along with what Jigsaw was doing, but you also kind of find out at some point, or you figure out a little later, that he's also kind of doing his own thing too. And Jigsaw, that he was doing his own thing, so he's testing Hoffman because he knew he was doing his own thing. You find all that out, and then that goes into that little part of the story you find out in 4. Then that's where it all kind of goes more into 5. But yeah, you find get all that, you got all that going on too, besides the whole Riggs story though too. You got Hoffman and you got the Riggs, and then you got a lot going on, and you kind of find out the wife, and she's fishy.
Right. And then we got this one. This one's also with the who is it? It's the other lawyer, right? The lawyer in the beginning. There's the I can't think of his name. Look it up real quick. But because in the beginning there's these two guys that are chained up together. One's got his eyelids sewn shut and the other one's got his mouth sewn shut. And so it's, let's see.
I can't, what is his name? Gabriel Byrne? Is that his name? Gabriel?
No.
That's somebody else. What's his name? But yeah, so yeah.
Oh man, what is it? Who is this?
He's the lawyer of John Kramer and
Louis Ferreira is the actor's name. He plays Art. Yeah, and so he's the lawyer that's like involved with some of Jigsaw's properties, I think, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember what he does to make him mad. Because that's what. Go ahead.
He was also the lawyer for somebody else too. Within all that, it's her lawyer. It's John Kramer, like his wife's lawyer. She's a lawyer. He's a lawyer for her, which you'll find out she's doing some shit too. And then John, and then he was a lawyer for somebody else too in one of the past ones. I can't remember who it was right now, but it's that particular storyline. And the lawyer didn't help her when the drug addict came in and,
and hit her in the stomach.
And hit her in the stomach in a way, and she lost the baby and all that. So so he didn't help. There's that whole story there.
Right. So yeah, he's being used. He's now being after he escapes from the trap in the very beginning, that he is now being used by what's his name, by John Kramer, in the way that in the first one that what's his name, Zeb.
Oh, Zed, yeah. Zed.
Zep. Yeah. The way Zep was, that he was I was trying to remember the song, like Hello Zep, which is like the song that's in all of these, but yeah, so he's being used like him. He's being used to set these people up, and so he's the one who's got Matthews trapped, and supposedly Hoffman trapped as well. And so, and then and he's kind of running the whole Riggs thing. But it's interesting too, because you find out that everything that's going on with Riggs is going on about the same time as everything that was going on in the previous movie with Jeff and his wife.
Right.
And so it's weird that like, and that's what's fun about these movies is it's like all these timelines just keep like, just, it's very slippery how these timelines all work together.
Yeah, those coincide. And he's
Yeah.
being tested as well. You find that out. He takes his jacket off later on and he's being tested too. He's got to keep
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So he's like John Kramer is just testing everybody all at once. You know, he's just everybody who's wronged him in some way is just getting tested. And and again, part of that is because of Hoffman, and Hoffman's, you know, trying to, you know, cover his tracks as to, you know, because Matthews and Riggs and Detective Carey, they're all, you know, after Jigsaw, they're all trying to find him. They're all getting closer, and you know, and they're all finding out. And this is the introduction also of FBI agent Strom, too, which I'll go through the next couple of them.
Yep. He starts to look for Hoffman. He starts to figure out.
Yeah.
I like them. I like that little deal there, the Strom Hoffman thing. I love that.
Yeah. That's an interesting story. I think that's most of number 5. I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, the stuff with Riggs, it's not as entertaining as number 3 was in a lot of ways. It's not bad. I so far none of these I've scored them all like 3 stars and up so far. So none of them have been bad movies at all. I've been entertained the whole way through. But yeah, this one just doesn't. This one wasn't as fun for me, I guess, in a way. It was more. There was a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts that it wasn't hard to understand or anything like that, but there was a lot of stuff going on and a lot of connecting and everything. And I think again, because this was Darren Lynn Bousman's completion of this trilogy of sorts of his movies, that he, you know, was kind of tying up as much as possible while also still leaving everything open as well, because every one of these movies has got to leave it open for another one,
right?
Yeah, no, it is fun. It has its moments. I think that I'm trying to remember, because we've got the woman in the chair who's being scalped. That one was brutal.
That's brutal.
And then we got the rapist, and he's locked in the bed and then has to either gouge out his eyes or have his limbs ripped off. And I don't remember what else. Who else did Jeff have to?
The couple, remember at the school?
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
I think that was her or whatever. Yeah. But they were to school.
Yeah. Right. He was like beating the kid or something, or like abusing the child or something. Yeah, it was confusing. The wife was helping to cover it up.
Yeah.
And then the lawyer in that, and I think that was Art was the lawyer for that guy.
Yeah.
And so he was yep. So he was that was that whole segment there. I was trying to find the connection. I couldn't remember.
That's what it was. I didn't want he was molesting the little girl and also being as well.
Yeah. And so he comes in, and the wife and husband are like chained up together, and they still you find out that they had like multiple like metal rods pushed through both of them, and the wife had to pull them out to try to survive, and there was still one left, and she ends up pulling it up, but I think they both ended up dying after all. So just because she was bleeding out. But yeah, it's
Riggs, I think, pulled that one out. Riggs found her.
Did he pull that one? Okay.
Yeah, she was still.
I thought he still had.
And he pulled that out, and then something else. There's something else that had happened in there within there, and then she died.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he manages not to save any of these people, so despite trying to save them. But yeah, and
He
then
even
like
had
it
little traps for all the cops. Remember? For even
don't.
when the cops would go into a room, there was still another little trap somewhere in there.
Oh, right. And that's how
Cop,
Agent
like the one
Perez ends
cop,
up. Yeah,
with
yeah,
Billy the puppet right in her face,
yeah,
all the
shoots
little,
right in her face.
traps.
Yeah, yeah,
And there was
yeah.
there was a couple other little ones within there too. So he had all these other little tiny little things to happen or
For the people who are
explode and
coming
stuff.
afterward. Yeah.
Mhm. That was
But,
interesting.
yeah. No, I think that overall it's an interesting movie. It's not as fun as the previous three, I would say. I think one, two, and three are pretty solid. Um, and number four meanders a bit, and there's too much going on. There's too many people going on because now that Kramer and Amanda are dead, we've also got, but we got Hoffman, and then we've got um Art, the lawyer, like doing some stuff too, and like you got Strom and Perez working the angles, and there's just so much going on. And Eric Matthews is back, and he's
Yep.
just hanging there the whole time. Um, and so it's just there's so much going on, and Riggs. I think the problem is Riggs isn't a very super compelling character. That's why I didn't really like
Yeah.
jive well with the movie, is just because the character isn't super fleshed out. I mean, I understand that like his character is like he's a cop and he wants to save everybody, and but meanwhile he's neglecting his wife, and and that's part of it too. Again, Jigsaw's whole thing for this is, you should be appreciating your life, not worrying about trying to save everybody, and because you can't save everybody. And
Right.
so, and
Now I get
then,
what you're saying. Because I
yeah,
really enjoyed two. I find that one very entertaining with
yeah,
all the and stuff.
yeah.
Uh, I understand what you're saying about part four. Yeah.
I think, having watched these, I think number two, and I think, is it number six that also has a group of people, or is it number five that has the group of people?
Are you talking about the group of people with like where it has the merry-go-round shotgun? Because that was really cool. I think
Yeah,
part two.
no, yeah, no. I mean the group of people who had to who were all together in the beginning, and then each section, like with the reporter, um
Yeah,
and all of them.
five.
Is that five? Okay. Um I like it when there's groups of people who have to kind of survive together, who have to kind of work together, but who obviously won't, because they're all like in it for themselves. They all want to be the person who survives, and so they're gonna like literally backstab each other. So I
Right.
always find that more fascinating than the person who, like with this one, Riggs or Jeff, or in six where it's the guy, the insurance guy, who has to just kind of save people along the way, or do stuff like that. I get it. They're not bad. But I like it more when it's a group of people who have to try to work together and to try to figure it out, and who realize at the end, yeah, we should have worked together instead of, not working together, and these would have, been a lot easier for us in the long run.
Right. Right. Of
So,
course. But they always
um,
have a little story too, and
yeah.
there's always another little story.
Right, right. But yeah, no. So what would you say are your like favorite traps or kills in these two movies?
Well, like we said before, the scalping with the girl. I mean, just being a
Okay.
girl, long hair. I can just
Yeah.
imagine,
Yeah.
Um, and I like when the big bricks of ice
Yeah.
come down on oh my God,
Matthews. Yeah.
Matthews. I want to say Donnie
Yeah.
Wahlberg. What is Donnie Wahlberg? It comes down on his head and smashes his head. That man, that was fantastic. That
Yeah.
big more
Yeah.
ice again. See. Oh,
Yeah.
but that was
No, I would
effective.
say, yeah. Yeah, I'd say that was those are pretty good ones. Yeah, the rest of them were kind of like okay, but they weren't like there was nothing like interesting as like that
Yeah.
overall interesting about them. I like the kind of weirdly complex ones or something like that. Like we said with Saw 3 where the guy was having his limbs twisted and everything.
Ugh.
That made it yeah, it was just brutal. Um but yeah, I like both of these movies. So far the series has been really good. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed rewatching these. And like I said, number three was kind of a high note, a high-ish note. Number four was just kind of middle of the road for me. But I
Yeah.
do like how at the end we do find out that yeah, this was all going on at the same time. Strom is like working his way through, like following, basically kind of following behind Riggs the whole way, and then ends up in the same location as Jeff is. So, and he's like right there, like as the door closes on Jeff, he's just like right there about to like go into the room, and then the door closes on him,
Right.
and then he can't get into it. And so it was neat to see just like, oh, there was somebody on the other side of that door, like really close to, you know, getting more information on it. But of course, Hoffman was on the other end of that, making sure that he couldn't get in there.
Right.
So
Cool.
So
I love
I like how intricate and like convoluted it all is because it all works. I
Mhm.
think even when it doesn't work, even when logically it shouldn't work, and everything like that, I'm invested in it enough in these movies to just go, okay, yeah, these are fun. So
Yeah, yeah, they're tons of fun. Like I said, they're very creative too, and I like that. I
yeah,
can't wait to see what traps they can come up with next.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're gonna do with Saw X. Set between one and two, you know, we get John Kramer and Amanda back again, so
Right.
that'll be fun. Maybe we'll even get some Hoffman. I don't know.
I don't
Um,
know.
yeah,
Maybe. That'd be cool. I like
but
Hoffman.
yeah, he's all right. I mean, I think his motivation's a little weird. But I mean, all of their motivations are pretty weird.
Yeah.
When you really get down to it, I think at least with Kramer, with John Kramer, his motivations are more about he, it's a weird wanting to help people, but also getting revenge on people who wronged him. And you know, putting them in situations where they have to. And like, you know, he's always like, "Well, I never kill anybody." And it's like, but you do, because you know some of these traps people aren't going to be able to get out of. Like,
Right.
no matter what you do, these people are just not going to get out of them. So, but I do find
Do
it
you have a
fascinating.
trap that in all of them? Just asking. Do you have a trap that is your favorite out of just all of the movies, though?
Um, think of all the traps that they've done so far. Um, I don't know. The classic reverse bear trap is always great. You know, that's I think that's just a fan favorite of everybody's. Um I kind of like the arm one that they do in 5, I think, where the two have to put their arm into the saw blades and
Uh,
like
oh, that's
bleed out
nasty.
the 10 pints or 10 liters or whatever. Yeah, that one was gross. But yeah, it was I was just like, oh man, that's gnarly.
That one's brutal.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, no, it's what's your favorite trap?
Mine is very simple one, but to
Okay.
me it is so freaking disgusting and I can't even. And it's the needle trap.
Oh
And
yeah, that one's
that's
a
the
bad
one where
one.
they
Yeah.
don't even die. No one dies with that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But the thought of all those germs and dirt
Oh,
and
I know.
nastiness in there, like, and no. And then the needles are no, like I can't.
Right?
That
Yeah,
one
no, I'm just
always gets me. Always. And
yeah.
then again, no one dies with that one. And it seems a little more a lot simpler than some of the other ones, but
Oh yeah.
I don't know, the germ factor of that one.
Oh yeah, no. And just like because there's no way not to
Disease
get
in
stuck
there.
by the my yeah. Well, not only that, just getting stuck by all of those. Like I'm not a big fan of needles anyway. Like I like even when getting blood drawn or shots or whatever, I actually have to physically look away just because I can't like once it's in, I'm fine, but like having it stick into me just bothers me so much.
Yeah, and
So
Amanda gets out of there and has to pull all that out. Oh, you got to talk about this later, but yeah.
yeah.
That one's my favorite though.
Yeah, no, that one's a good one though. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to mention about either one of these movies that we haven't?
I think we covered it all. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you let people know where they can find you online?
All right. Well, you can find Nightmare Toys on all social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Please follow our YouTube, subscribe, hit like, everything. We have a Nightmare podcast as well that we do. We air it every Friday. I do a live with Kristy show every Wednesday, and that airs on either the YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. And then myself, you can find myself, Nightmare Kristy, on Instagram and Twitter. And I also have an OnlyFans, Loyal Fans, and a Fansly.
All the fans.
All the fans.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show again. It was a good time. I always like having you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's always fun. I love it.
Yeah, I'll have to get you on again for something else.
I would love to do that. I love holiday wars and maybe something Christmas.
All right. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thanks again to Kristy for joining me. On Friday's show, Ashley Thomas returns to the show to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And on Monday, Kat Velour is back to talk about Saw 5 and 6. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is a part of the Morbidly Beautiful podcast network. Please check out morbidlybeautiful.com/podcasts for more great shows. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, please share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. Music for the podcast is Gratitude, composed by Jerry Smith. You can follow the podcast on social media at Creepy and Geeky on both Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Geek Thulu on Twitter and Blue Sky, and geek.thulu on Instagram. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.